I'm here with my good friend Megan, who is another homeschool mom and a real friend of mine in real life. Um, and she is a homeschool life coach. She's got some amazing wise advice there over at Coach Meg Thomas. And also my companion with our podcast called The Homeschool. So, did you get all those names? That was a whole lot of names there, but
Yes, and the hippie mama. That's what I am on social media.
Mama on social media. Yes. Yes. So we love doing our homeschool podcast together. We have a lot of fun with that. And with everything going on right now, with basically the whole world is homeschooling, we thought we could just hop on and share with you guys some tips to help you out during this challenging time with so many of you thrown into it and not knowing what to do. So we just we're going to share some tips with you to just get you going and to calm your minds and help you just feel at ease with what's going on in your lives. And you can see my own kids running around in the background. They're not supposed to be in here, but they're here running around behind me because I have my own kids at home with me as well. Um, but yeah, just there's a lot of chaos everyone's feeling right now and a lot of stress and nervousness about messing it all up. And so we just want to calm your minds a little bit with some advice from some seasoned homeschoolers. I've been doing this 12 years, I think now. And Megan, how long have you been at this?
I think I'm finishing my 12th year.
Finishing your 12th year. Okay. Yeah. So a dozen years each, and that's pretty amazing. Yeah. So I would say first tip number one is to simplify. Everything that you thought you needed to do, just scale it back like 10 times. And that'll pretty much be right, probably, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and then maybe scale it back a little bit more if it's too
And then
much.
a little more eventually. Yeah, you'll see. Um, and this is no criticism in any way because I did this when I started homeschooling, but I've seen a lot of families putting together their daily schedules for homeschooling and they're, by the minute throughout the whole day. And I did the exact same thing when I started. And then I have a friend who did that and I saw her schedule. And the next day she said, now here's our modified schedule. And it made me laugh because I remember feeling that exact same way. Because once you get started and get going, it's a near impossibility to keep an exact schedule like that at a home while you're schooling. In a school setting, of course you can do that and it works there. But at home, it's just not going to work. And it's okay. So we have a schedule, but we have a very loose schedule. And what we do for hours is really just like, we have our morning time and then we have our afternoon time. And so in the morning, I expect to do these few things in the morning. And then in the afternoon, I expect to do these few things. I'll go into that in a little bit more. But I, but I just think it's really important for you to understand that keeping it really simple and keeping it really flexible is an important key to start out with here. Megan, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, what we more do is just know what we want to get done in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of this 8 to 8:30, 8:30 to 9 chunks of times, ours is more like here are our school subjects. And oh, it's funny, I actually have it right here. That's convenient because I didn't put it away. But they just literally have a list of what they need to get done for the day. So they know, like, these are the things I'm doing. And they know they decided what time they could get it done in the day. And that's how it goes.
Yeah, that's exactly what we do as well. I have a checklist for my kids for their school, and it's just get your list done and they choose their order. And I think kids really like having some flexibility on that so that they can, just be more comfortable and have more control of their lives a little bit and being less regimented in that. And it works well for our family.
Well, I
So,
think too. Oh, sorry.
sorry.
Well, I just think it gives them a great opportunity to start learning to manage their time.
Yeah.
Like how wonderful to learn this while you're young versus having to learn this when you're 25 and you're having to pay a mortgage and all these other things, right? So having the safe space and great time to start learning, how do I actually manage my time?
Yeah, that's a really good tip. So our day, and I know you can share yours as well, but our day, we have a morning time. We're usually up about 8 at our house, not super early. I let my kids sleep till they wake up for the most part. I'm up a lot earlier. That's my work time is early in the morning. So I get up at 5. My kids are up about 8. But they get up, they have breakfast, they get dressed, brush their teeth, and then we have like a morning gathering time together. We do a devotional, but we also do like some poetry memorization and different things like that in the morning together. And that's just kind of like the start of our day. And then once that's done, then it's their independent work time. And I will usually start working with my youngest. My youngest is kindergarten age. I have 4 kids, 15, 12, 9, and 6. So I start with my youngest because my youngest needs the most attention from me. And then the older kids can work independently on their own. My oldest is not a senior. He's 10th grade. He does everything independently. There's nothing left that I do with him. He knows how to do it all on his own. He checks in with me on it all, and we're touching base often, but I don't do anything with him. He has some online things that he's working on. And then my kindergartner, I work through with her on a couple things. Then she needs a break. So she goes and runs and plays. Then I'll help my 3rd grader for a little while. And I sit with him and I do some work with him for a little bit, the things that he needs help with. And then my kindergartner is usually ready for a little more at that point, and we'll jump back in. And, so if you give them short lessons with short breaks and break it up a little bit, it's going to make things a whole lot easier and less stressful than expecting them to sit for a 2 or 3 hour period of time all together working. Do you have any input on that from your home?
Yeah, so kind of the same idea. We get up a little earlier at like 7:45. So we're and we do scriptures as a family, and then we do chores and breakfast and all that stuff, and then we officially start school. And same like Karen, we do a subject in the morning and then we break apart. And my older kids that are high school age do all their work independently. And I'm more just making sure everything's looking good, but no, we don't do school together. Then the next 3 I rotate through. So I have 7 kids. The oldest 3 would be senior, junior, sophomore, and they're all online. And then the next 3 would be, how old are they? 7th, 6th, and 3rd grade. So I do all their school with them, more just checking in with them. Mm-hmm. And then the baby's 2, and I just let him run wild. He'll start officially. But with that checklist, I check it the next day to make sure everything got done. We do that. It's called Minute with Mom. If you want to watch a YouTube video on it, it's over on the Hippie Mama. But I just kind of check it with them. And then we picked a time that it just needs to be done. So they picked that their schoolwork just needs to be done by 5. So they can do some school, then they can play. Then they can do some school and take a nap. They can do some school and need a snack, right? And so they can kind of just, it takes out micromanaging on my end, which I don't want to do. Right. It takes out that irritableness, like your friend who had the schedule, because you want it to get done. And we're like, we're off schedule. So it takes all those things out of the picture.
Yeah. I remember when I was first starting homeschooling, trying to stick to that strict schedule and getting so frustrated often, like you said, that, oh, we're off schedule, the day is ruined, we're never going to catch back up. And I think if you're just really flexible with your time frame, it just takes that stress out of you and the pressure out of you. And we're similar, where I have my kids done before dinner time. Their school and then their basic chores are supposed to be finished by dinner time before they eat dinner. And they have a lot of free time and a lot of play time. And some of you are probably learning, depending on what you have going on at home, that homeschooling takes a lot less time than regular schooling does. And so it may seem a little like you're not doing enough. But in reality, it just really takes a lot less time when you do it at home, because you have one-on-one instruction, and it's just easier to get through things than when you have a full classroom of kids.
Yeah.
Being a former public school teacher, I've been in both situations, and it's just a whole lot simpler when you're doing it at home, a lot more streamlined.
Yeah.
Do you want to cover one of your points there?
Yes. So as you have your kids home, I know some schools are just trying to be closed for a couple weeks. Some are closed for the rest of the school year. Some are 6 weeks. So there's a whole spectrum out there of how much homeschooling they're doing.
Tons of instruction from their teachers, and some are getting none. So there really is a full spectrum.
Yeah. So I want you to take a time, to look at what is it you want to create with your kids being home. So is this we bicker a lot, so we just want to make sure that we don't kill anybody by the end of however long we're homeschooling, right? Or there are some amazing skills. I would love my children to know how to garden, and it's springtime, so this is the perfect time to teach them these skills. What about if you have some relationships that have really been struggling and being like, this is the perfect time because school's gone, extracurricular activities are closed, church is canceled for us. I don't know if all churches are canceled, but ours are. And so
at all right now.
So probably everybody's church is canceled right now. And so what I want to use this time to really connect, and what do my children like and what do I like? And so kind of having an aim for what it is you want to create with your children home, because that's going to help you to know what you're going to do each day. So if it's okay, whatever it is, if it's as simple as I just want to keep my sanity, then you can think like, okay, then this is what I need to do. Every morning I need to get up and go for a walk or a run to clear my mind, or meditate or do yoga, right? Yeah. Then I'm going to do this chunk of school. Then I'm going to go take a break by myself again, because my main goal is to keep my sanity, which is beautiful, right?
So I think what you just said about, mom keeping sanity is a really, really important thing to touch on for just a second.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, but like, okay. I know that all of us moms, we need that. It gets really crazy having your kids around you all day long, every single day. And especially you that are, if you're new to this and aren't used to it, it's a whole lot of crazy and it can be really hard. So make sure that you take some time for just you. And right now I know it's almost an impossibility to go anywhere. So whether that's just locking yourself in your bathroom for a bubble bath, going for a run, like she mentioned, whatever it is that can get you alone and away so that you can just clear your head and just not have your children around you for a few moments in time is really important. And that's one of the big reasons why I like to get up earlier than my kids, because that's really the only time I'm alone, that in the shower, or when I go running. But taking those times to just carve them out for just you are really important to help keep your sanity and help you just like stay on top of all that's going on.
Yeah. So like making a plan for that. I've seen other moms do go for a drive late at night, right? Maybe they'll do, like, if they like sodas or something like that, go through a drive-through and just get a soda and just go listen to music and just chill for a minute by themselves.
Yeah, that's good.
So, but just kind of having that aim of like, what is it I want to create? Because I've been seeing also, not only like, I've seen both sides, right? Some sides are like, oh, wow, I actually love this. And I think I want to actually keep homeschooling. Mm-hmm. And then I've seen other extremes that said that, like, some pretty funny stuff too. Like, this is terrible. This is awful. I will pay any teacher anything they want to take my kids back again. So just kind of having this end game goal in mind. Like, I just want to have a good experience for the next few weeks or few months of everybody home. What is it you want? And then that will put you on the right path of what you are deciding to do every day, and finding things to help fulfill and meet that goal and that need.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I was a little distracted there.
That's okay.
All right. Another big question I'm seeing pop up often is how to teach multiple ages. I had a friend text me this week saying, how in the world do you do this? Okay. How in the world do you do this with a preschooler underfoot? Like, what am I supposed to do with my preschooler all day long? And so I was sending her over some tips and some advice. And if you have a range of kids that you're trying to figure out how to teach, as we said, our older kids are doing their work completely independently. And most often they can. I would say 7th, 8th grade up, they can do the bulk of their stuff on their own. Even younger, some of the stuff they can do completely on their own. But those ones, like my daughter's 8th grade, and I don't do much with her at all. And my high schooler, I don't at all either. And so if you have bigger kids, they can be independent, and then you can just focus on the younger ones. And that's a nice thing to do. If you have several elementary range kids that you have to figure out, what we do as homeschoolers most often is we batch subjects together. Like, for instance, the whole family does the same history together, and the whole family does the same science together and art together and things like that, where you don't have to do kindergarten through 7th grade art on different levels and different topics. And you can really just batch them together and teach them all at once. And it works. And that's my biggest tip there. But also, if you have older kids, that can help. When you need to work with a younger one, then you can let the older ones step in and help with a lesson. I often do that with my older kids and my kindergartner. If I need to do something, then they can step in and help with her lessons, because they know the stuff. It's easy for them to do. And so they can help in a lot of ways there.
Yeah.
On that there?
Yeah. So my first 6 kids are born pretty close in age. So I had it when they were all in elementary school together, right? So I really was teaching subjects to a large spectrum of ages that were young. And so yes, like in history, just teach it, and the little ones kind of keep up, or maybe they have something they play with or draw. So let's say you're studying Rome, and you could get into different emperors and the rise of Rome and the fall of Rome, and you can get into deeper topics, and the little kids can just sit and listen, and they can color a picture of the Colosseum. They can create something like if you made a movie of like, let's make a movie of gladiators, right? But don't really kill each other. But something like that where the little ones could be involved. Like, hey, you get to be the lion and you're going to come after me, right? And just making them fun. And you can group subject teach things. Am I saying that right? And then just kind of have this little scale of saying like, okay, we're going to do art. Here's some pretty pictures. You just design and create your own, and you can work on shading or different techniques with art, where the little ones are maybe just drawing or just water painting.
Yeah, that's great. And then one other tip for me that I kind of already mentioned, but when I start my instruction, I usually start with my youngest first because they're the least, well, I don't know, they have the smallest attention span.
Attention
That's the
span.
word I'm
Yeah.
looking for. They just need the most attention and they have the shortest attention span. And so if you start with them and you get them going on something, they're usually going to be happy a little later. So get them going, and then you can work on the next older ones. And typically it goes a little more smoothly that way. At least that works for
Yeah,
me.
it kind of wears them out too, the little ones, like the novelty. It's really fun. Mom's giving me all this attention. And then it's like, okay, that was enough. And then they can go off and play. And they got that one-on-one time.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
Ready for me?
Your next tip. Yeah.
Okay, habits. Karen and I, if you've listened to our podcast, we love habits. The homeschool person we both love is Charlotte Mason, who's really big on habits. We love the book Atomic Habits. Like, habits are everything. So this is a really wonderful time to create some amazing habits and maybe get rid of some habits that you don't really like in your house anymore. So things like people just getting up in the morning, a habit of getting up and making your bed, because now it's not like rush, go, go, go. We can take a minute and breathe. So like with normal people, not normal people, in a normal situation of homeschooling, we would actually do a detox phase. We wouldn't just recommend jumping into school. And so slowing it down, taking a habit of how to clean a bathroom well, how to do your laundry, all these amazing skills to obtain.
Sorry, I'm interrupting. I've seen a lot of people's memes going around of like, here's how you should do school right now. Go on a nature hike, play games together, love each other. You know, just you see that, and that would be like the detox phase that we're talking about here. Because when you pull kids out of public school, we call it a detox in the homeschool world. But what that means really is just giving them some time to learn how to not be so structured and to learn how to not be told what to do exactly every minute of every day. Because that's, you know, when you're in a school setting, it's very regimented and very strict of like the routine and the times and where they go when. And you come home and suddenly you don't know what to do because you've been told what to do. And so these kids need this like decompressing time to get that sort of out of their system, and then to learn that learning can be fun and really enjoyable and be done in a different way than what they're used to. And so that's just to help you understand what we mean by detox.
Yeah, it was interesting. I actually got to coach someone yesterday talking about writing and really concerned about writing. And it was interesting because she's been helping her kids love writing, but it was like, is it enough? But the fact that her kids will just write constantly and are always exploring stories and sharing stories, like that is enough. And that was part of the beauty of the detox phase does, is instead of the writing is about this topic, it has to be this long, this many words. It's like, just write. What do you want to write about? There was a beautiful butterfly. What's the butterfly story? What do you think? Where do you think it came from? At the butterfly, like, write its life thing, right? You just little prompts, and then not checking the grammar, not checking spelling, of just being creative. So, but just some of those habits are good. Habit of studying, habits of creating, those types of things. So this is a beautiful opportunity to really think, what are the habits I want for my family? Like, I want my family to help clean the house. Because I know when your kids are in school and then they have extracurricular activities, a lot of moms feel bad to say, and you have to clean. So this is a really good time to be like, wonderful, you get to learn to clean the bathroom. Like, you get to learn how to do your laundry, cooking, all this type of stuff.
Yeah, I think that's probably a really big difference between kids that are homeschooled and kids that are not, is the time they get for chores. And most homeschool moms, like, that's a huge thing that that's a part of everyday life, right? And when your kids are home all day, there's going to be a whole lot more mess. The house is going to always feel like a ginormous tornado just went through it. There's always going to be dishes. There's just always going to be more mess. And so the kids, because they're at home and participating in all of that, are learning how to do those things a lot more than they would if they were gone at school all day. And so I've seen that in, friends that are public schooling, that their kids really don't have very many chores except on the weekends. And my kids have a lot of everyday chores that they have to do. And so I think that's a huge part of learning to manage this whole system, is learning how to give a lot of that up to them. Don't expect that you still have to do all of this extra work. These kids are very capable, and
Yeah.
put them in charge of those dishes and vacuuming and wiping the table and sweeping the kitchen floor. Put them in charge of those things, because they need to learn the skills, but also they're there making the messes.
Yeah, that's something I completely forgot about, because I'm so used to so many people always being here, of somebody saying like lunchtime, like my house is never clean and I have to make 3 meals a day. And like there's always something going on. And so if you can create the habit of, because I think I don't make lunch for everybody.
Oh,
I don't make breakfast. I like to make dinner just because I like to cook.
I always make dinner, but
Yeah.
breakfast and lunch, I don't make them very ever. Once in a while, I'll make a breakfast just for fun. Like I'll make pancakes or I'll make waffles or things like that. But mostly it's fend for yourselves, and my kids know how to feed themselves.
Right. But that's a habit you've taught them, right? Of how to cook for yourself, how to clean up after yourself. And so this is this amazing opportunity, because I think it was my cute nephew when he moved out to college. He goes, my laundry doesn't magically get done anymore. Like I still have dirty clothes, and people still have stuff now when he throws it on the floor.
Yeah, that's an important one. And there's been this viral thing going around of this mom's pantry schedule that she's put up during the coronavirus. And my husband today was like, have you seen that? It's hilarious. And it made me laugh, because I was like, oh, well, that's just my normal life. Like it didn't feel like all that novel to me. But I remember when I first started homeschooling, your kids want to eat all day long. And I've heard a couple moms say that. Do my kids really eat this much during the day? And I think the fact of the matter is, because they're home and it's available, they're going to eat. They're going to just graze, and it's going to just be there. And so if you set an eating schedule for yourself, for your family, especially when things are harder to get right now, that can be a really smart move. I used to tell my kids, like, they were allowed to have a 10 a.m. snack, and then they were allowed to have a 2 p.m. snack. Like I used to have to schedule it, because they wanted to snack all day. And I was just like, you can't just be constantly eating. And so when they were younger, I had very scheduled snack times, so they weren't in the pantry constantly.
Yeah, there's lots of things. I have a snack bar on my table, and it just has all the really fun foods like nuts and fruits. And so like if you're really hungry, you can eat that, or you can wait till meals. So there are lots of solutions to that.
All right. And now let's talk about having our little ones underfoot. I've touched on a couple of tips and things there. But when you have toddlers or preschoolers that just feel like they need constant attention and constant entertainment, how do you get this done?
Yeah.
Right? Megan has a toddler. My youngest is now kindergarten age, so I'm really coming out of that. But I've written a lot of things about it on my site from when I was in the thick of that, because I've been doing this for a long time. But just some little suggestions you can do to have on hand for these little ones. Or just putting together some little busy bags or busy boxes with little activities in them that they can do. And then you keep those up on a shelf, so it's only pulled out when you need them entertained, so you can work on something. Play-Doh is a good one. Those little dot markers, you can find those at the dollar store or on Amazon, maybe, if they still have stock.
Yeah, I was gonna say Prime isn't 2 days anymore right now. So
it's not Prime anymore, and there's Amazon people with the virus in the warehouse, and so you just never know anymore what you can do. But if you have those, if not, give them some watercolor paints or some markers. My little ones used to like to just get a sticker sheet and stick stickers on a piece of paper. For some reason, that's so fun. But I would divide the paper into squares and put numbers 1 through 10 and say, okay, in this square you put 1 sticker, in this square you put 2 stickers. And so it was a little educational for them, and they could do something. Plastic little pattern blocks, those are fun, and you can print lots of the shapes of those online. I have lots of those on my site. Just wooden puzzles is a good one to just pull down and put in front of them. My kids loved those when they were little. Lacing cards is another good one. Rubber stamps. What else? What am I missing there? those are some of just the basics you can pull out and
Yeah.
just have on hand for them. But also they really like just active play. Give them a ball to kick around or a bean bag to toss at a target. Your little boy is super active. Like I had one like that too. What are things you like to do with
Yeah,
him?
I was gonna say it really depends on the personality because my 8-year-old, who's like yours, like it almost was easier to just have somebody be in charge of him, like a school subject, that you get the next 15-20 minutes with this child and just run them.
Yeah.
Like he was like a puppy. But then my current toddler does better as long as he's included.
Mm,
So if I give other kids a paper, he wants a paper too. And
yeah.
if we're playing a game, he wants the pieces too. So he's not as crazy, but I've had both extremes, right? So I've had a little bit of everything. So some kids, my 8-year-old, he was he was a special breed. And so we actually had people rotate through just running outside with him and just like keeping him busy physically. And that really helped him. But my other ones have done really well with just being included.
That's good. All right, next tip. What have you got
Me?
for us? Yeah.
Okay, this one, I love this one. We actually have a podcast episode coming out about this in a couple weeks, so be excited for that. About being bored. I'm bored, Mom. Like, oh, I don't even know what to do with myself. Boredom is such a beautiful thing.
It
I
is.
just read the coolest story about this amazing florist. And he's like a florist for the celebrities and does big, huge events. And somebody was asked him, how in the world do you keep coming up with these amazing ideas? And he goes, because when I was a kid, I had to be bored a lot. He had to wait at a bus station or something, a bus stop. And it must have been out in nature, kind of a rural area. So he would create things with the sticks and with the plants and with any flowers he would find. And he had like an hour or so of these times of just being bored. And so he was like, boredom is what helped me find this creativity that was inside of me all along. So it's so tempting to want to entertain your kids all the time, right? Because like you love them and you're like, I just, you seem bored and this is a change for you. You're used to, somebody said they're used to 20 kids with them constantly. And now it's just mom or mom and a couple siblings. And it's like, I'm so bored. And it's so great to fight the urge to just turn on the TV and just say, that's awesome. I can't wait to see what you're going to create with your boredom.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, kind of having a plan, like letting them know we're not going to just turn on the TV so that it's not a complete shock to them. It's like a buffer before the shock of just saying, like, you may get bored and that's okay. Do you want to come with me? I know Karin has boredom busters on your site, right?
Yeah.
So you can do stuff like that, or you can come up with a list with stuff to do with them. I've actually been like laughing at the things that I've been able to create because I don't have to run my kids places. And so I've been gardening and my chickens and like I've been doing all these really fun things. And my one daughter's going to paint a room and so all these things that were like, oh, we just didn't have the time to be bored.
If you have a preschool or a kindergartner, you can come join it. I'll share the link with you guys. But that's what I've done in my boredom this week.
Yeah. That's awesome. But it's like if they come and tell you that they're bored, just being like, yeah, that's just a feeling. Boredom is just a feeling. Yep. Sometimes I feel happy. Sometimes I feel sad. And sometimes I feel bored, and that's okay. And just not giving them something to do, turning it over to them and saying, oh,
It's
awesome.
important for them to learn that you're not the constant entertainment source, and that they need to learn how to do that for themselves. And I laugh at my kids. We have a shelf full of toys that are kind of very rarely played with anymore. Two of my kids have really outgrown them, but even the two that still want to keep them and don't want me to get rid of these toys, it's rare to even see them pulled out and played with anymore because they just entertain themselves and don't really need toys very much anymore. But they'll go around and they're out in the backyard right now running and playing and I don't know, swinging and who knows what. But it's really good for kids to have that downtime in their minds. Like it's healing. It's good for your brain, just like Megan said. It's been good for her brain, it's good for mine, to just have time to like decompress and unwind and not have like a regimented structure all the time. And I've been on a lot of Facebook lately. This is my socialization. um but there've been a couple of memes floating around about things that have been invented during like quarantines, like through the history, through ages. And I can't remember any of them right now off
I
the
know,
top.
it's like I was curious. Tell me.
I'll have to look it up. I can't remember. You know how my mind is. I'm very forgetful.
That's
But I
okay.
remember I was reading through it and I was like, oh, that's really cool that all these things were invented during a quarantine, when people were secluded and their minds were, they were away from people and activities that they would normally be doing. Because when you have that downtime, that's when you really have time to get creative and dream things, dream big.
Yeah.
So,
So just allowing him to feel bored and being
yeah.
okay with it.
And another thing, I always tell my kids, if they come to me and tell me they're bored, I'm like, well, I've got a job for you. So they know not to do that because
Mhm.
they don't want me to give them work that they don't want to do. So they've just learned, oh, I won't tell mom that. I'll just go find something to do.
Yeah, and I have a beautiful friend that I just love. She doesn't homeschool. She didn't homeschool. She does right now. But she always says she feels like the cruise director.
Yeah.
Like, here's an activity and here's an activity. And what I'm saying is you don't need to be a cruise director. And that's why homeschool moms like can keep their sanity, is because they're putting it onto their kids. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, wonderful, go create something. But you have to be okay that sometimes it's going to look messy.
Yeah, definitely.
And then teach them the habit of picking up after themselves while they're done, right?
That's a good one to learn.
Okay,
Let
it's
me
back
see
to
what else
you.
I want to cover. Working while homeschooling. I think a lot of you are in that boat right now.
Yeah.
Or having to work from home and then also homeschooling your kids. It can be a really, really scary, big, overwhelming thing to try and figure out. Megan and I both do that. We both are work at home homeschooling moms, but luckily we have created our own businesses and can therefore create our own schedules. And so I think that's a little different than probably what a lot of you are experiencing. But we
Mhm.
can still share the knowledge that we have learned from doing this over the years and how we've made it work. Um, like I said, I get up early and I work before my children are awake. And that's a time that I can have quiet and have focus and nobody's bothering me. And I can just really get a lot done. And so that's one thing that's worked super well for me. If you can't be super flexible with your time, like if you have set hours you have to be working, then you you can set, if these are your work hours, then you schedule everything else around that and you say, okay, if I have to work these hours, then I have to homeschool during these hours. Homeschooling doesn't have to happen from 9 to 3 or whenever. It can happen in the evenings. It can happen before you start work. You can decide when you want to have your schooling, and that's kind of one of the beauties of it is, you can be really flexible in your schedule there. um, and you can set your kids up to work on things independently when you're scheduled to be working as well. I usually will have, when I want to work in the afternoons, which is another time I'll sit down and work. We're usually done with school by then, and my kids are out in the yard playing or playing a board game quietly or something like that, where it's their playtime, or they're in the room cleaning if they haven't gotten that done yet. But it's a time when I know that they will be busy and occupied with something of their own, and I know that they'll be okay. What are some tips you've got there?
So, well, I got to talk to a friend yesterday, and she works full time, and her husband works full time. She does work from home, but she's still working full time. And
Mm-hmm.
she has clients that have set schedules and set things. And so, what she did with her girls is she met with them, I believe, on Sunday, right before all this started, right? And said, what do you think would be a good schedule for our family? What do you think you guys can do on your own? What do you need help with? And they kind of preemptively came up with a plan. And so she had some, I think her oldest girl is maybe around 13, but they're pretty independent kids. And so they're each taking turns with meals. So that she's not working, homeschooling, cooking, cleaning, doing everything like that. They just kind of divvied out the workload. And then the girls are doing their school by themselves. And if they need help, they'll do it in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
just
we do
kind
that
of,
as well with meals. My two oldest each have a night they cook, and so that's a big help for me as well. And I know you do that too.
yeah.
Um, and then let's see. Oh, if you have older kids, I know Megan has hired her oldest to watch, or her older kids to watch the baby while she's working often.
That's why mine isn't in my room.
Yes, yes. So that's something you can do as well, where you have an older child watching the younger child while you're working, so that you know that they're taken care of, and you know that they'll stay out of the way, so you can get done what you need to, not have interruptions. And I do that often with my kids, where you're in charge, keep them out, keep that door closed, and that most of the time works well.
Yeah, I do pay if I'm actually working. If I'm just like doing my own thing, I don't pay him. I just watch him, right? Or a date with my husband. But when I'm actually working and I'm in my office and I cannot have distractions, I pay a large fee of $5 an hour. But like, because I told them if I have hired somebody else out before and I paid her more, but I also required a lot more of her.
Yeah.
I had her cleaning and doing other stuff as well. And this, I said, basically you're playing with your brother and getting paid to make sure he stays alive, gets fed, and his diaper gets changed.
Mm-hmm.
So I do pay actually like $5 an hour for my big kids to watch while I'm working.
Yeah. Another tip, if you and your husband or spouse are both working at home right now, you can just kind of rotate work times if that's a possibility, and have one on child duty and one on work duty, and then you can take turns with doing what you need to do.
Yeah.
And then one more tip is finding schoolwork that's independent, if that's an option for you. I know some of you don't have the choice to what you're schooling, if you're being given it from your school districts and schools right now. But if you do, if you find very independent work that the kids can do mostly on their own, so that you're not there with them, but they can work on it while you're working too.
Yeah. Okay, now me. Next tip is homeschool does not have to look like public school.
Yeah.
School has certain hours. You have to wait for others to finish. You have recess. It's very, very structured.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who is homeschooled for a few months even, but especially us long timers that are successful, they have thrown out that school schedule a long time ago. So I just want to, like, this may be, I made sure Karen was okay that I shared this before I did it, but if you have kids 8th grade and under, their grades don't matter. And so if like the coronavirus is scaring you, yesterday in Utah, yesterday or 2 days ago, we had an earthquake. So yeah. There's just like was crazy stuff going on. And if you're like, school is stressing me out, you don't have to do it. You could just let them fail the class. You could pull them out for the rest of the year and just homeschool them and just kind of relax, read, explore, play, have fun together, really connect. And then you could put them back in school in the fall if you want to, because the grades don't matter until you hit 9th grade.
Right.
And then if they are 9th grade, they can do it by themselves, 9th grade and older.
Mm-hmm.
But especially if you have a lot of littles and you are having to manage, like you have to be on the computer, then you have to be on the computer, and it's just feeling like so much. And you're like, and I'm baking my bread now, and I'm doing all these things. All these things you're doing a little extra.
Toilet paper. No.
Yeah. You're out there using leaves. No, but like, it's okay if you just take a break. And even if you're like, I don't want to homeschool forever, but I just need a breath of fresh air. So if you want your kids to just pull out, not do school for the rest of the year, right? So we're at the end of March, middle of March, right? And so through April, May, just like, I'm going to homeschool through the rest of the year and slow things down, because that's what is going to bring me peace.
Yeah.
And I know Karen was talking about that earlier. She and I were about worrying about that this will put you behind.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of moms really concerned about not being able to keep up, and that now their child's going to be behind in school. And I've been thinking about that a lot this morning and realizing that the whole nation is going to be behind, and then the whole world, if you really think about it, because everybody's home right now.
Yeah.
And schools are canceled nationwide, worldwide in many cases. And we're just kind of all behind together right now. And then the fact of the matter is, like, what's behind?
Yeah.
The school schedules keep pretty strict regimens and have the state testing, which most of the states are canceling now too. So you're okay on that. But for the most part, you'd be surprised how quickly a child can catch up and can learn things. And when they don't have the constant repetition and the constant, like, oh, the kids in the other class aren't keeping up, so I have to help and stay behind. And, there's just a whole lot of factors that go into it. But kids are really quick learners, and they're not going to fall behind. They're going to be just fine.
Yeah. And like at the end of the day, what are they going to remember? Like, oh, during the quarantine, I sat at my computer and it was super boring. Or we went outside and we had a picnic and my mom read books to us. And I mean, a perfect series right now to read, I would think, is A Little House on the Prairie, because we've been reading this and it's like farming tips and making it do on your own land and all these things. And so it has my kids all excited about gardening, and we already had chickens, right? But it was like, we're just like Almanzo, or we're just like Lara. And so that could be a really fun series to incorporate right now and be like, we're going to make bread. Or they did Cat's Cradle. You remember that game with the road?
I love that.
Yeah. And so that's been one of my kids' favorite things to do, is to do, I'm keep doing it for you with no string, but just these little fun things, right? Sewing together, doing just these fun things. And so when they look back, the quarantine could be like, that was so fun. I know it was terrible, the virus and why we were quarantined, but like we made the best of the situation, instead of like, yeah, for a month or two, I had to sit in front of a computer for days and it was super boring. So it's okay to do something a little bit different.
And you know what's so cool right now is seeing all the amazing free resources that are being offered. You know, we've been watching Mo Willems every day do his lunch doodles. Mo Willems is one of our most favorite authors, and he's doing the cutest little videos, and my kids are learning to draw his characters and having so much fun with that. And our local zoo, the Hogle Zoo, is doing a live stream every day going in with animals. So today we watched about red pandas and learned all about red pandas, and it was so fun, and they're the cutest animals. And you know, there's just so many cool things like that. Audible is offering children's books to listen for free right now, and on and on and on. There's like hundreds of things I've seen floating around. And so even if you just like take a break from some of the normal things, like we've kind of had a stressful week here just with everything going on, and our emotions and our anxiety has kind of been high. And so we've just sort of slowed our normal down and really been taking advantage of some of those fun free things, and going on walks, long walks together on the trail, and just doing things that are a little different from our norm, because we all just needed that. And it's okay to just like take in that stress and like just calm your life a little bit for a little while too, and not feel the need to be doing those constant, I don't know, all the things.
Yeah. I actually messaged my husband. He's out of town again. And it was interesting. I go, I don't like the virus, don't get me wrong, but I go, I love everything being canceled. I love it. Like my life just is like so fun, and it's just whatever I want to do. I mean, within reason, I can't go shopping or something, but like around the house, I can do whatever I want, and I'm not tied to anybody's schedule. And so like that is so freeing to me. And it's just like, oh, I can breathe again.
Yeah.
So I love that.
As well. We've had a lot of time with my husband, and we don't usually, like, he's usually gone at work for long hours. And so we've been playing games together and doing a lot of puzzles together, and, you know, just doing a lot of family things that we haven't been able to do normally. And so it's been a beautiful thing for us as well to just really kind of bond more. There have been a lot of moments of get out of the room, I need to be alone too, but more of just fun family bonding time, and it's been good for our family.
That's awesome.
So yeah, we hope that this has been helpful for you guys. Please let us know if there's any questions as you're watching this or watching the replay. We're happy to answer any questions. You can find the two of us talking every week on Called to Homeschool on our podcast. And I'll share the link to that and to Meg's website for homeschool coaching if you need someone to talk through all this anxiety and stress you're feeling. She's amazing at homeschool coaching, and it really is. She's really good at it. And then you guys know my site, hopefully, but teachbesideme.com, where I share fun ways to learn. If you just need a break from the norm or some math games to play or something like that, you can hop on by my site for some ideas or cool science experiments. But really, most of all, we just want you guys to know that we're here for you for any questions you have, and let us know. We're happy to help.
Yeah, I actually had one last tip I wanted to share.
Oh, and sorry, yeah.
It's okay if this week was chaotic for you, and if you weren't very good at it. If you were like, okay, I gave it my all, I did my best, and my best wasn't enough. like nobody sits down to the piano. Maybe Mozart did, right? So very rarely does anybody sit down to the piano for the very first time and just compose a masterpiece. So Karn and I have been homeschooling for 12 years each. And we have learned a lot of things. We've tried a lot of things. We failed a lot of times, and we just kept going and to get to where we are. So in 1 week, if you're like, I didn't master this, then congratulations, you're human. You're normal. There's nothing wrong with you. And so just like,
I don't think I've mastered it yet either. I've gotten loads better over the years, but we still have really terrible days. It's just going to be a normal thing. It's just life.
Yeah. Well, it's just funny because I was recording videos yesterday on my Instagram. Every day I've been sharing something fun you could do, right? So I recorded them all yesterday. And in the background, my 2-year-old is hugging a stuffed animal, like over me. And I was like, it's just funny because it doesn't matter anymore. So it's not like my children are all of a sudden these perfect saints. I just realized, where do I want to put my energy into? Is it the end of the world that my 2-year-old was throwing a stuffed animal? Like I know it's not, and I know how to relax a lot more. And so when somebody was like, I'm not very patient, and I think the only way to become patient is to practice a lot, and you need your kids to push those buttons in order to practice being patient.
Mm-hmm.
So you're okay. You're figuring it out. And so it's okay if it looked really, really bad this week.
Yeah, totally okay. We're all human and we're all going to get through this really weird situation together. And one day we're going to run out of our houses and be so excited to just like see other people again. And you can all come to my house for a great big party, and more than 10 people are allowed.
And we can like hug.
We can hug again. Yes. No, so our neighborhood, just a random side note, but I just decided to start this week, but we're all coloring pictures of silly faces and putting them in our windows at the front of our houses. You can do this too, Meg. And then you can take your kids on a walk or a drive through the neighborhood and go on a silly face hunt in people's windows. So that's the way we're interacting this week.
I know. I actually thought, you know, it would be fun.
Yeah.
I thought it would be
fun. I saw another cute. Sorry, what?
Sorry, we keep like cutting each other off. No, I was thinking like something fun, since you're not really playing with the neighbors. If you have extra toilet paper, just to put one in a little baggie with some treats or something, and just like giving out something cute that maybe you have extra of or something like that.
And then I saw a video of a girl leading a workout class in her backyard. She was standing on her back porch with a megaphone, and all the girls in the neighborhood came out in the backyard, and she would yell out what to do, and the music was blasting, and there were like all these neighbors out doing the workout with her. Like, that's brilliant. How fun is that? You know, you can make this situation fun in creative ways where we can get through this, but we got this. Anyway, we love you guys. Thanks for listening in today, and we will talk with you another day.
See you guys.